Donald Trump may have to beat Ron DeSantis in a primary to get the nomination. Who would you support, Trump versus DeSantis?
Trump. I'm Trump.
Trump's my president, and DeSantis will be my next president.
I think I would go with Trump. What about Ron DeSantis if he runs against him?
He'll have my support, but Trump is number one, without a doubt.
And the whole country wants Donald Trump, and it's nothing against DeSantis or any of the others, but they want our real president Donald Trump back in. That's what they want.
Our very own Michael Shore went to Miami, Florida to talk to Trump supporters about who they would prefer in a Republican primary between Trump and DeSantis. And even though this is in Florida, as you can tell, the majority of people who answered, I believe actually every single person who answered Michael's question did in fact want Trump over DeSantis. But that was last week. Have things changed, especially considering the outcome of the midterm elections and how many of the Trump-backed candidates failed to win congressional seats? Well, let's take a look at how DeSantis did last night during the midterms. He did really well, actually. 59.4% of the vote went to DeSantis. Charlie Crist got 40%. So as you can tell, DeSantis has a major lead over Charlie Crist. Now, the front page from the New York Post also had a fascinating imagery and headline today. DeFuture, with an image of Ron DeSantis, his children, and his wife. Young GOP star DeSantis romps to victory in Florida. And it seems very notable, seems to be a very notable message from a publication owned by Rupert Murdoch's media empire, or part of Rupert Murdoch's media empire. Fox also had some similar messaging. Ron DeSantis is the new Republican Party leader. And also Fox News aired the DeSantis victory speech in full, the only major network to do so. The network also took some shots at Trump at the same time. An article by Fox News, another traditional Trump ally, reported that Trump was blasted across the media spectrum, citing a quote describing the former president as the biggest loser tonight. And I just want to give you a few more examples. For instance, one Fox contributor, Joe Concha, wrote this op-ed for Fox. Trump is the past, DeSantis is the future. And here's Fox and friends getting pretty giddy about DeSantis.
Young GOP star DeSantis romps to victory in Florida. It's called DeFuture. People love him. They just love him in Florida. And here he is last night, and I want you to listen to the chanting. They're not chanting 4 more years. They're chanting 2 more years, which means they're encouraging him to run for president. Here he is last night.
After 4 years, the people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
Now I'm gonna go to the final graphic in this story because Trump has reacted to all of this. And he seems like he's doing real well. Here's a Truth Social post. Now that the election in Florida is over and everything went quite well, shouldn't it be said that in 2020, I got 1.1 million more votes in Florida than Ron D got this year? 5.7 million to 4.6 million, just asking. God, it's so good. It's so good. Yes, please post more.
Yeah.
Please post more. It's
so I now have 100 fun things to say. So first of all, of course you get more votes in a presidential election year than you do in a midterm year, but I'm not even sure that Trump knows that because he knows nothing.
But shouldn't it be said, Cenk?
Shouldn't it be said? But that gets to the more important point. The reason look, you're supposed to have surrogates say that for you. But that would require you to have a tiny bit of management, right?
No,
and then you're supposed to have other surrogates publicize that for you. But that requires a tiny bit of planning, right? But he has no discipline, he has no intelligence. So he's like, shouldn't it be said that I'm better than Ron DeSantis? Oh, you idiot, you said it yourself.
But Cenk, does he have any surrogates left?
Well, that's a good question.
By the way, that's a ridiculous exaggeration, but who knows, maybe. She's such a little bitch. Like that's the thing is, I think most people, with all their flaws, humans are flawed, I get it. They would have enough self-awareness to not embarrass themselves by posting something like that.
I know he doesn't, he's super embarrassing, but again, MAGA loves it. So guys, we're giddy today, but hold.
Don't rain on our parade.
I know, but I've got to, okay? So here's all the different factors as to why Trump is definitely not done. The rumors of his demise have been greatly exaggerated because number one, DeSantis beat Charlie Crist. Like my mom could beat Charlie Crist. Like anyone could beat Charlie Crist. All right,
Marjorie Green.
No,
but you're right.
Charlie Crist is the single worst candidate in American history. The Democrats are like, oh, we'd like to lose. They put up Charlie Crist. Okay, so beating him by 20 points is like damning with rain praise. And number two, you saw Michael's video there. He asked in Florida, and he asked a ton of people on tape and not on tape. Okay, Trump or DeSantis? Every single one of them said Trump. And by the way, your eyes were not deceiving you. Yes, that was actually Mike Lindell that he was interviewing as well, the My Pillow guy right there. And he's like, oh, you got a camera? I like cameras, okay? I'm gonna talk to you, okay? I like pillows and I like Trump, okay? So anyways, bottom line is what this is gonna come down to, and the folks in the right-wing machine, the media machine, et cetera, right now, don't seem to realize it. I'm curious what Tucker Carlson is gonna say tonight, because I think that he's probably gonna be a little bit savvier about this and probably not going to jump on the bandwagon, at least yet, for DeSantis, okay? So, because the reality is, it's the Republican machine versus MAGA, because MAGA still, Trump is their daddy. So DeSantis is like nice, maybe he's a nice brother to have and you kind of like your brother, but at the end of the day, you got some sibling rivalry, et cetera, and daddy's daddy, the Messiah is the Messiah. So do not count Trump out. If they actually go head to head, his zombie army will rise, okay? And then you're gonna see this, is DeSantis smart? Is he strategic? Is he strong?
I think he's definitely more strategic than Trump, but all of that will pale in comparison to whatever he does on a debate stage. Like that's the only thing my mind goes to, because the debate stage is where Trump crushed all of the greatest contenders according to conventional wisdom in Washington, right?
Marco Rubio.
Right, exactly. Like, and he did it so easily. So I don't know how that would play out. Well, if I had to bet money on it, Ron DeSantis, I feel like, would not do well on a debate stage up against Trump, because Trump is just dirty and also has charisma. And while I agree with you that oftentimes Trump can be unintentionally funny, he's also intentionally funny.
Yeah, it's probably going too far, but so guys, bottom line here is DeSantis now can't not run. He was planning not to run, but now everyone's saying you gotta go, and they're pushing him into the race. If he doesn't run, he looks like a weakling, and it might permanently damage him, right? So Trump is always going to run. And remember, DeSantis' timeline is tiny, because if he's gonna announce, he has to announce soon. So he wins the governorship and then he announces a couple of weeks later. It's awkward, right? So you've got all these different factors. But DeSantis' best strategy would be just let Trump talk. And the only thing you say, never fight back against Trump. The only thing you say is electability, okay? And if you let Trump be a whiny baby, then you got a shot at beating him. But if you get into a mud match with him, yeah, he's the bigger pig. He'll win in that bout. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.